So I wasn't expecting to come back out today, but I got a phone call from the guy who owns the machine, and it turned up about 12:30 this afternoon. So I slipped out and unloaded it. This is the first time I've seen this machine. So it's L150F Volvo. It's a pretty nice machine actually. It's far bigger than so several years ago I had my own machine doing this exact kind of work. I had a Komatsu WA350-3, which is about 2 sizes smaller than this. So I'm just going to do a quick check over at the Savi. I'm not actually starting work out here until till Friday morning next week. So I've still got another 5 days for actually doing anything. So I'll spend a half an hour or so and just have a quick look over it. Which I always like to do when I get a new machine to operate, especially one that I'm not too familiar with. So we've got a fuel pod over there. Just dropped off the vehicle. The fellow who owns it, we dropped that tank off and we're going to fuel it up straight away, but it blew a fuse, so I'm just going to replace that fuse and fuel it up. I've got my own pod on the back of the Hilux there. She hasn't been used for a good few years now. But yeah, these sort of jobs, you know, you're working for a landholder and they're supplying the fuel, so the first thing you want to do is have the machine full and your vehicle full on that first day, because generally if you can show them that you got a full tank when you start, you can they're fine with you leaving with a full tank when you're done. It's always worked well for me in the past, and small time operation here. So this fella, I'm not exactly sure how big this block is. I think it might be 700 acres, and obviously they didn't get a real good crop off it this year with it being so dry. But you know, every little bit counts with them, so you want to be able to show them very quickly that they're getting their dollar's worth out of, one, the machine, and two, the fuel they're putting into it. So I'll spend a little bit of time here going over it, and might do another little video of the Savi. So the dam's pretty much straight through there, so I might go down there and do a bit of pegging, and hopefully landholder will turn up this afternoon and I can drop this tank of mine off to him, and we might even have a bit of a look around and make sure he's happy with the plan I've got. So just fueling up here now. Just a simple blade fuse gone on this pump. So nothing the trusty Leatherman couldn't take care of. Funnily enough, something I'm not allowed to carry with me on my Monday to Friday job in case I injure myself. But luckily out here I can basically do as I please. The boys at work would be delighted that I was wearing my gloves and maintaining my goal zero. Still got the steel caps on, but we're running the footy shorts today, which is a pretty good change from the day-to-day operation. But just on the fuel subject we were discussing before, was as far as turning up with a full tank of juice, I always like to get a picture, one, of the odometer and the fuel gauge in my car when I start one of these jobs, and the hour meter and the fuel gauge on the machine when you start. It's a nice 18-foot rake there that comes with this machine, so it's got a quick hitch on it, this loader, so it's very handy to drop the bucket and do a bit of clearing. See how we go. We might even throw that on at some stage in this little project and maybe tidy up around the edges or something when we're finished, or maybe even clear a couple little bit of regrowth and stuff that we've got about the place. So I've just finished going over this machine. It's got an auto greaser on it, which is great. It's going to save me quite a bit of time of an afternoon instead of greasing up. So instead of greasing it, I've just gone over it and checked each pin and just checked that there was at least some grease in the area, and everything looks like it's functioning pretty well. The owner was here when we dropped it off, and he topped off the auto greaser at the time. And it has just had a 500-hour service, so chances are the driveline was already done, but through the old trusty orange overalls that haven't been out of the shed for 12 months on, and just quickly got under there and just gave her a quick grease on that driveline. Cleaned the windows, still got to throw that windscreen wiper back on, but could be a little bit of a waste of time if I'm not going to be here till Friday. If we get a shower of rain or something, I'll have to do them outside ones, but just something simple like that, you do pick up a few things. Like obviously it's got a smashed windscreen, which is fine. That's what you expect when you spend a couple thousand hours pushing a rake out in Western Queensland. But the seals are gone where the corner windows meet the big window, and it's just been taped up. But given that I've just cleaned them, I've realised that the tape's peeling off. So before I start work out here on Friday, I'll bring some more tape out and I'll tape them joints up. Other than that, she looks pretty good. Cutting edge is good, pretty sharp, so it'll wear pretty quickly, but that's all good. It's got well and truly enough in it to get this job done. Tyres are good. I don't actually have the fitting anymore. I always used to have one, but oh, there we go, there's one right there, so that's excellent. So I'll be able to check them pressures. Like you can run a lot lower pressure doing what I'm going to be doing with this machine, desilting the dam, than you can when you say loading trucks, but it still pays to check them. I don't have my air compressor with me at the moment. Landholder's going to take my fuel tank and he'll probably fill it up each day and bring it back to me to keep the machine full, which will mean that I'll have room in the back of me Hilux here, which isn't set up like I don't do this all the time, so she's not quite set up the way it would if I was doing it all the time. But I'll put my compressor on. That means I can blow the cab out because it is quite dusty, you know, being out in that red Queensland dust, especially with them windscreen seals gone. That's to be expected, so I'll give her a bit of a clean out as well. And I'll give it back to the man who owns it in better nick than it was dropped off, and he'll be very happy with that. So anyhow, we're going to slip down the dam and just throw a few pegs out now. Just mark the water line and double check the heights on the bowl wash and a few things like that. Then I would really love to jump on it and go down there and do an hour or two, but I'm only going to get just enough time in it to get a bit of a feel for it, so I'll just leave it. And it'll also give me a chance to have a look at the dam with the landholder before I actually start work. It's always good to make sure they're 100% happy with what you're going to do. So anyway, here's to Friday.